So hi guys, welcome. We had a little break there. So I guess we're going into the next section, which is really around, the role itself in terms of the transition you made, which I think is very interesting. Particularly in the transformation world, what we find is, and even one of the articles we did post around skill sets versus domain expertise. So like in your case, you happen to be a man on the field who was actually getting his hands dirty doing the job, but now you're actually sat in a PM role. How did you find that transition? And do you think it's actually been of value, having all the expertise and experience on the field in this project?
I thought I was going to find it hard because I'd never wanted to work in an office that's why I joined the fire brigade, because I was like, I never want to work in an office. At that time, I thought it was like going to be a sterile environment. I'm like outgoing and quite active, and I find it hard to sit down. So the actual transitioning started when I was an officer, and towards the end of my 20 years on station, I was starting to go into the officer role. The officer role these days is a lot of computer-based work, so it's almost like a slightly small transition into an office environment.
I see.
So although I was still going out on operational incidents and doing operational training and other roles, a big chunk of my job was actually starting to be computer-based. So when I come up to the department in headquarters, I already had that sort of office bit behind me. As for sitting on an office chair for like 9 hours a day, I thought I was going to struggle. But what I did is, because I was going out into the market and actually doing investigations and research, I didn't find myself sitting in the office so much. So it was a bit of an equal balance. And probably because I've spent 20 years as an active firefighter, I actually used some of that expertise into the field. I knew who to talk to. I knew how to relate to other fire brigades that I was going to speak to, talk on their level. Because I think people work for the fire brigade are non-uniform, and I think they find it quite hard to try and interact with the firefighters, because it's like me speaking to you now. I have to be conscious not to use abbreviations for certain things, and to talk to you like you know what I'm talking about. Whereas coming into the office, I've still got the ability to do that to whoever I need to speak to in the fire brigade side. I can actually kind of tone it down to the non-fire side. So it's just about it's adapting your skills, and I've learned so much since I've gone into a different environment. I have adapted as best I can to my surroundings. I'm still that active person. I'm still that go-getter, proactive. Try and improve all the time. I'm never sitting still. So it was a bit of a weird combination, coming from active to non-active, but in a kind of a weird twist on it, because I'd still operate the drone on a operational response. So I'm still onto the fire ground quite a lot as well. So I've never, although I'm not there in the firefighting role, I'm still integrating into the way the fire ground runs. I'm still briefing senior officers on the drone stuff, what information I've got for them, and then listening to briefs from them. So if anything, I've gone into the higher echelons of who I'm dealing with on the fire ground. So whereas before I'd just be an officer in charge of a fire engine and dealing with some of the stuff and not really having much to do with the upper levels of the command. Now I'm going straight into the sort of the top levels of that command structure to give them information. So it's kind of a really bespoke, unique role, I'd say, and I do enjoy it.
That's actually awesome.
Sorry, yeah.
And then the project team, or how big was the project team? So you mentioned yourself, and you had the technical, the technical lead. Was there anybody else that was actively assigned to the project, or you were just pulling in people as you needed?
So there's just two of us doing the work. So we have to, with the background stuff in the drones, you have to write an operations manual. That's basically what governs you as a team, governs your rules. It's the CAA part of it as well. It's got your insurance in there, how you operate, what you can do. So if you don't write flying at night, if you don't write it into your ops manual, you can't do it. You have to write it in. You have to be transparent. Everything that you do, everything that's in there, you can do. If I go off and do something that's not in my ops manual and I crash or have a crash, then I'm going to be held accountable. Well, why are you doing that? It's not actually written in your
operating manual, more or less.
One other person, I did henpeck certain people for their skills. So one of the guys in the department, on our team, he's really good on Excel. I'm really bad on Excel. I can do basic stuff, but he wrote me a 2 programs, one for keeping flight hours up, which is a CAA requisite. So you have to, if the CAA come down and talk to us, that we have to provide the information that we're keeping up our hours.
Okay.
That's purely because if you don't fly for 3 months and then go and fly and crash it, why haven't you been training? That sort of thing. That's where it comes into it. And then he wrote me a drone rotor. So I was doing it pen and paper, colouring in, sorting it all out, and then he went to Excel,
and did it all,
knocked it up, and it was amazing. It's just like, I had to record him. I was like, that's really good. So you just find, you look around, what do I need? Well, I know that you're good at that. I know you can help me with that. And again, with the departments, so there's so many different departments, but having good communication skills really helped as well, because a lot of people just do things by email, and that's probably why I cut down my time as well, because I've done stuff by email before, and the people sitting right above me, and it's a week before they actually action it. So I just went straight to the person. They have to deal with it. Got to deal with it. Well, I need this. How can you help me? Okay. So I just built up good rapport with all the different branches that I needed. Even the stuff that really is like insurance, health and safety, all the things that I don't really know a lot about, because it's really deep. Just sat with them, spoke to them, like law. So not law so much, but the I suppose it is law. Like make sure that I'm doing everything that's within the corporate image of London Fire Brigade as well.
Okay.
Make sure I'm not stepping outside of what they want to provide, sort of thing. The GDPR issues, that's a big one.
Yeah.
The data protection stuff, that is like, I had to really, really like knuckle down on that and speak to the relevant people. But again, working with them, I'm covered. So I just used systems that they'd already set up for fire investigation, who have to process large amounts of sensitive data. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I just used their system.
Took advantage of what's already on there.
Yeah.
So, impressive. That's typically how it works, actually. Yeah.
And then have you had other brigades come to you to ask you either to help them or to guide them, or like are you working on initiatives to try getting this used widely? So
because the fire brigades, we're not we're a full-time entity, but it's not been ingrained into the firefighting, to the London Fire Brigade sort of operations as yet. We're still in the trial phase.
I see. Okay.
However, because we've been going so long, we meet other people at networking events, other demonstrations, and other people hear about us through when the London Fire Brigade tweet. They just tweet certain stuff out here and there. So I've actually worked with tomorrow, funny enough, Cambridge and Buckinghamshire are coming down. They're police and fire. They're coming to talk to us about how we started, and that's where, because I did that with. Obviously, it's a natural step. How do I start? So someone else must have started. So how did you start? So
that's true.
They come to us. How did you start? When I've got a PowerPoint presentation of everything that I've done, how I started, and the steps that I took. And I said it's just about collaboration as well. You just get with other people that are already doing this within your sort of area, and then just share information. There's no point in doing that.
Hiding it all and keeping
because all you're doing is reinventing the wheel 4, 5, 6 times on. So I work closely with the lead for the Met Police drone team, and also Essex and Kent, so all regionally, and we all talk, we all share ideas, and it's about, because you all learn from each other, and then I'll pass that on to whoever comes to us, so other fire brigades that want to talk to us. Had a few that my co-worker who does all the technical stuff, how do you do such and such? She's like straight onto them. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So it's weird. It's like a natural sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Not information, but you share it when you give advice. I forget what
learnings, lessons learned.
It's sort of like you're giving them ideas, and so that they can then make their project easier. So, and also, I know you said about lessons learned. You can say, look, did you think about doing this? Actually, if you don't bother doing that, actually just go straight to this. So it cuts down their work as well. So
it's interesting, actually.
It is good though to share, especially with other brigades as well.
What's so interesting is there's a lot of similarity already with this project, and the oil and gas space, so like the standard operating procedures, like the steps you follow to do certain things, manuals to guide people on how to do certain things. It's all very important, And even something that came to mind is using the drone. You mentioned maintenance to prevent issues from happening. That's also a big thing in the oil and gas space. Like using drones to actually go to site to view what the issues are. And that's why I asked that question about how does the feed get to the office space, because you can imagine using a drone on the rig in the platform, deep water offshore. How is that information sent to the field for the relevant teams to be sat together to resolve the issue? And it's all similar stuff. It's just amazing how you can use technology to get what you want and as a team collectively resolve the problem. Pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's only going to get bigger and more companies are going to use them. So.
True. Very soon you'll be at home using it on your phone. Okay, that's fine.
I'm not going to work today, I'm just flying a drone.
Take off automatically, dock wireless charge, because technology is advancing, you never know.
Yeah, someone has actually said, I don't know if they was joking, they actually said, you could do that, the future is that you could sit like centrally in London and do your automated drones. And I was like, not in London's airspace, not just yet.
Yes, London's very restricted.
It's very restricted, and the buildings, the layout, everything. Not enough landing space.
Well, just touching on that, so being part of a project team in London, you get sort of flagged up higher than some other brigades that might already be doing it. That's just because of geographically where you are. It's a lot more going on in London, so you sort of have a lot more to deal with in respect to legislation and that. However, we get invited to certain conferences and meetings and stuff like that. And we got invited to one that TfL were doing. And it's about the future scope of where they see drones in London. Okay. So people have talked about Amazon dropping off stuff.
Yes, that's
but they're talking about flying suppliers across London, maybe for medical supplies or maybe for other things, and that about setting up sort of like pods of drones that do all that automated instead of, because you know how congested the roads are. So instead of using a vehicle, you just zip a drone over there. So it's good to get in on those sort of working groups. It's quite interesting. I still think it's a long way off, but it's alright if you live out in the sticks or where
there's not
where
so
you
much.
can fly and you've got no obstruction.
Nothing at all.
I think the biggest problem, also another big problem in London, is that buildings are just coming down and up. In a blink of an eye. So one day you're flying, it's fine, and then the next day there's a building up there.
Oh, true. Just see drones zipping everywhere.
They're super intelligent with AI and the rest to know how to navigate. Because I know Facebook recently, I was reading the article, something around a robot that's able to navigate its way around using AI.
Have you seen them on the roads in London? Have you seen them?
The what?
There's little robot pods.
Really?
That go around London, yeah.
No. Oh, really? I didn't know.
I don't know what they're for. I don't know if it's for a sort of trial of research and development, but
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, you see them. It's like little remote vehicles, and they're just going off down the street on their own. There's no one near them. They're just doing their thing.
Oh wow! I need to see
I'll have to Google that, see what that's about.
Oh, that's interesting.
A bit scary.
I'm sure the viewers now will be checking. Like, what's that?
But the day I get my Domino's via train.
Oh, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Oh, bless. It's true. I guess.
I think.
Any more questions, or what did you think, or any thoughts so far? Because I'm what I really find fascinating in this situation is obviously, the fact you were on the field, you're now running a huge project within the fire brigade department, in UK, one of the busiest cities in the world, and it's proven successful. It's very inspiring, and I think this is sort of very useful to the viewers because, if you have been doing something on the field for a long time, there's still scope for you to actually deliver something you have passion for, you're interested in, and it says a lot, I'm really impressed actually.
I mean, when you say it like that, it's like, I suppose when you step back and have a look and actually what you just said and you just take it in and think, but when you're doing it, you don't think it's just a job, I'm just trying to do it, I'm just trying to provide the best service and make it work for the London Fire Brigade. Got a new commissioner now. I know that he was proactive in it, the old commissioner definitely was proactive in it, Danny, and we worked really closely with the progression of the project, and it has surprised me how quick it took on really, and how we get a lot of feedback from officers on the instant ground, and I forever get asked to go and do training all the boroughs do separate borough training, and I get invited to all of it. So I've flown over Hampton Court, did a training exercise over there. I flew over British Museum on a training exercise, and I'm getting to go to all the places that you wouldn't necessarily be allowed to fly, but being that we've got exemptions to fly for training and stuff like that, I'm getting exposed to quite a lot of London. And I'm trying to work really hard now with the police. We're going to hopefully start doing some joint training, and then working with other sectors within the police, because obviously they've got a lot of, like British Transport Police have got drones. I've really been trying to tie up with all of them, just push it forward, really. I think it's about future concepts, like even talking about, I talked about dropping smoke goods, but you've got dropping line systems for technical rescue style incidents. You've got, I think there's a Chinese drone that's already done it, but like a hose rule, or a high pressure hose from a drone.
Really, from a drone.
I've seen drones that fire like CO2 balls into windows and it up high rises. So it's just about seeing what's out there for the fire brigade for the future, you know.
Sure.
And really
opportunities actually.
And expansion as well.
Yeah, and I think it's such a great a positive use of technology as well. I'd rather see technology being used in things like this than snooping.
Yes, very true actually.
So, but I think that was great. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Really good.
Thank you. It's been very useful.
Yeah, I wish you all the best with the future iterations of it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And I think just one last question before we end. What do you think is most important in your experience in delivering this project? The people side, the technology, or the processes?
That's a good one. The people are important, because without the people it wouldn't have worked.
Correct, yeah.
The processes help make it work, and then what's it like?
Technology.
The technology, then that's a given, isn't it?
Yeah.
The given is the technology, but without the people and the proper processes, it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work.
So building your workforce first. They've got to have buy-in. Other people have got to have buy-in. Once everyone's got a collective buy-in, then you can work on the process and then and get the technology in. So
true. That's a good answer for you guys. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all, and
Thank you.